Okay, welcome to this chapter, and here I will introduce you Niagara particle systems. Fortunately, this is a very big tool, and we can't see every detail inside Niagara now in this course. I have also another course where I'm explaining more about Niagara, but here I will just show you how it works basically and how to navigate inside, which is also important and will be helpful for you. So our first lecture for Niagara will be a little bit longer because I will try to explain you everything as possible as I can. So let's start. Content drawer here, and maybe in the sequencer we can make it here inside this folder. So we'll click the right button here and you can see Niagara system. Okay, let's click on it. Allow new system from selected emitter. Let's click next. And now here we have different templates of ready effects. And for our situation now, we will use this one, which is the fontaine. And I was starting telling you what happening inside from this template. So click on it, plus icon, and click finish. And now I will name it F like fontaine. And this is our system. I will open it now. And this is the Niagara particle system. Okay. What I will do here, I will place it inside the level as well. And now you can see it, how it looks inside the level. Okay, the Niagara, it's ready. Now I will scale it. And this is our fontaine. The Niagara systems are working with different textures or with different assets. It doesn't matter which one. But for our situation now, inside the car smoke, we will use textures, sprite sheets, flipbooks. So what is the flipbooks means? This means that we are exporting real animation from a smoke from another software like Houdini, Embergen, even Blender. We are not simulating the effects directly inside Niagara. We can do it with another tool inside Unreal, but now we are using only Niagara. So here everything is created from textures from other softwares. So in this situation, we're using flipbooks or just one texture like this one. Default sprite material. Let's open it and you can see we have only one dot. It's just a dot which we're using to simulate these particles which are emitting here. Okay, let's start now from the settings here from the beginning, and I will explain you better. Okay, so we have this default material which we are using. So as I told you, we can use assets like rocks, like even you can simulate a lot of shell bees from here. Okay, I will stop this now. And by clicking the sprite render here and delete it, this plus icon here, you have different type of renders. So we have mesh render, we have light render, sprite render. So the sprite render is the render with the textures which we are using, which we had here before. Compile. If you want to use assets, you will click mesh render, and now you will have assets. And from here, you can change it with any asset you want. So let's see. These cones, you can see how our cones are spawning. This is because you're using meshes here. But in our course, our Niagara will be only with sprite renderer, because we are going to use textures and flipbooks from another software like Embergen and Houdini. Okay, let's see. Emitter state here itself, and it's infinite. So we have a loop duration, which is by default 2. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm clicking on here, life cycle mode, making system, because I want my smoke to be infinite. And now, without any doubt, we have infinite sprites which are emitting from the center of this emitter, which is okay. So my request for you guys is just to make it system here, to make it infinite, and that's it, without working with the self now. Okay. Spawn rate here is the number of the emitting sprites here. So you can see we have a lot of them now. If we decrease it now to 8, we have less particles which are spawning. Even if we decrease it more, we have 2 or 3 particles which are emitting and spawning. Okay, now let's increase it more than 90. Now we have more particles. You can see even more and more particles. And it looks more like a fontaine. So if you want to have more details in your Niagara, you spawn more particles. Sometimes we have limitations in our levels. Sometimes it's going to be heavy, and we are just increasing the size of the particles and making the value less here. So we can combine a lot of stuff together to make it look better. Okay, for now I will keep it to 8. It doesn't matter for us. So the spawn rate here is the number of particles. If you want to have more variations here, I will click this icon here, this arrow, and we will click random range float. And now we can emit particles between, for example, 60 and 90. So they won't spawn on the same time 90 particles. Now we have different spawning of the particles between 60 and 90. So you don't see any changes now because it's only a dot which is spawning here and it's similar. But for sure there's variations now, and looks much better if you use different textures for our different flipbooks from smokes for our material here. So this is what you have to know basically about the Niagara. Random range float, we have 2 values between our particles are spawning. We have more details with that. So just remember that, guys. I won't go deeply inside all of the stuff here because you can see we have a lot of stuff, a lot. But only random range float for us here, it's fine. It's not that hard. I'm sure you understand it. So let's continue here. Here in this tab, initialize particle, so we have a lifetime. This is important because the lifetime is how long our particles will live in our scene. So for example, now it's between 2 values, lifetime minimum and lifetime maximum. If you want to kill them earlier, we'll write here 0.5 and 0.6, for example, even here 0.2. And now you can see how our particles are dying faster inside our report. So for our smoke, we will need bigger lifetime because the smoke have to stay more behind our car. So that's why here we will add bigger values. But now I just wanted to show you what is this lifetime. So with the lifetime, you can control the life duration of our particles inside the scene. Okay, here we have a cover. So here it's white, but for our smoke, we have to make it with more darker colors, for example, something like that. Now it's darker, so even darker. Right here, it's okay. Now you can see, but we are not using this color menu here too much. It's not necessary to use this one. Most of the time, the textures have their colors, which we will use, or we are using just this one to make better color, only a bit in our texture, but I will show you. So don't worry. Okay, here the mask mode, we don't touch it. It's not okay for our, it's not necessary for our case now. So here the sprite attributes here is the sprite size, minimum and maximum. So from here we will control the size of our particles. Now you can see you can increase the size of them and more. So again, we have random uniform. So this is again 2 values for better details. And now we have particles which are between 5 and 10. So some of them will be smaller, you can see, some of them will be bigger. And the maximum size will be 10. So we have between 5 and 10. If you want to have only one size of these particles, you will write 5 and 5, and all of them will be in the same size. Okay, so if you want only one, again, only one size without 2 values, minimum and maximum, you will click here for sunset, uniform, and now you have only 10 like a size. If you want 2 values, you will click random uniform, and now you have 2 values between 5 and 10, for example. This is better for me because we have different size of the particles, and this gives better details to our simulation. So you can also write 30, and some of them will be smaller, some of them will be bigger. The software will calculate them without any restrictions here. Okay, here the mesh attributes, it's only when we have a mesh render, only for meshes, so we won't touch it for the sprite one. And ribbon attributes, it's totally different render, which we won't use here in our course. Okay, let's continue. So shape location is the place from where our particles will start emitting. So the sphere radius is here, the beginning, the starting position of our particles. Now I'll show you. When we extend it, we have a bigger radius of emitting our particles. You can see how they're emitting. So if you want a smaller radius from the beginning, you will decrease it to, I don't know, to 2, but now you can see how they're just emitting from here, from this point. So I will bring it back to 8 by default. Add velocity. What is the velocity? This is the power of our particles. So we want our particles to go straight up. So we will increase the velocity here. Now you can see how fast they are. Here we're increasing the power of our particles. We can decrease it. So we have this. Now they're slow. Now they're faster again, going up. So again, we have two values. So some of them will fall earlier. Some of them will go straight forward here ahead. So it doesn't make any sense here. So you can give it by default 0 and 1, or also you can make it only one speed, as I told you, without any another values. So here we can adjust one speed and that's it. For our smoke, for the tires, we won't do something harder than that what we're doing here. So I will explain you step by step in the next lectures how to build this smoke. I will upload you all of the effects, all of the textures, all of the materials you need to make it. So if you don't have more experience inside Niagara, you will be totally familiar to place it inside the sequencer and to use it. I'm just trying to explain you now. Okay, the velocity is the power, sphere is the location from where our particles are spawning. Here is the lifetime on the scale. So you have to remember only this, guys, only this, nothing more about these three settings here. So particle state, we don't have to touch anything here. You have to be enabled. This one, you don't have to delete it. If you want to delete one of the settings, you just have to click on it to click delete and you will delete it and you won't see it anymore. So here we deleted the spawning position and now they're floating somewhere in the space. So I will click Ctrl Z to undo it and to bring it back. Also, what we can do here inside the Niagara is to Ctrl C, let's delete it, Ctrl V. So we are copy and paste it. You can do it. And of course, shape location, I will bring it back here by default. Sometimes you have to be careful with the location of the settings here, because if you move it below one or under another one, maybe they won't work properly. So just follow my guide about the smoke and everything should be fine. Here, particle state, gravity force. So the gravity, it's moving them to fall on the floor. So if you increase the gravity by minus, now you can see how they're falling on the floor. The gravity, it's attracting our particles and they're falling on the floor. And by default, it's minus line 180. So my recommendation for you is not to touch it because you won't need it. Okay, the drag is the friction. We will need this drag. So the drag, what is this? So it's like something, it's going fast it's emitting fast from the beginning here of the animation, and the friction will stop it at the end of the animation to give more details to our particles. So now by default is 0.25. I will increase and you will see. So they're emitting faster from the beginning. At the end, there is a friction which stopping them and they're just dying because of the lifetime, which is not that high. So the friction, it's something which helps us to give better details to our particles, but we'll see if we will need it for the smoke. So I will bring it back to 0.25 now. We have scale color here. So what I'm doing with that, here they're starting with the full color and here they're disappearing. So this is like opacity of our sprites here, of our textures and materials. Okay, scale color here, it looks like that. Okay, and I will show you. Now they are fading here, for example, but if you move it to 1, they won't fade, and you can see they're just dying without fading before that. So if you want to have better detailed effects, also we will use this for the smoke. Scale color, it's important. You use the scale color if you need better appearance of your effect. So I will bring it back to 0. Now they will fade. You can see here. It's not that visible, but it's here. So let's click here to the windows and to open this, let's see, or it's tools, preview, scene settings. So from here, you can choose if you want to see the environment behind or just a dark screen to see better how our particles are fading. You can see here how it looks. And I will do it one more time here. So again, details 1. And now you can see how they're dying without fading anymore, because here it's 1 and 1. Okay, 0. And you can choose when to start fading, earlier or at the end of our animation. So now they're fading earlier, and now they're fading at the end of our lifetime, which is by default. Okay, let's click save here. And so force and velocity, you don't have to touch this one here. You have to be here always. And again, sprite renderer, which is our material here, as I told you in the beginning. From here, we'll add a material with the textures from our smoke, which are created in Houdini on Embergen, for example, also in Blender. And another stuff which is important is the sub-UV animations here. But I will show you when we're using the smoke. For now, this is everything you have to know about the Niagara. If you want to add another emitter here inside, because sometimes the effect's working with more emitters. If you want to add more details now, for example, you have the sprites, but if you want to add circles or squares or cones, so here the right button, add emitter here. And now again, for example, you can choose which template to use or to start empty one from scratch. Or if you want, you just can click Ctrl+C here, Ctrl+V, and you're duplicating it with the same settings like here. And now we can change it here with another texture, for example. Let's see, alpha brush material. We have another material here, which is dark material. It's not working for us. Let's see, arrow material. Where is our material? I will stop this one from here. Okay, we are waiting to compile the shaders. Okay, the problem here is because this is just only on color, so that's why we see these squares. It's not circles. It's only a color here. And when you activate this, you have both of the emitters working in the same time. So yeah, you can combine different emitters to make better effect. For our smoke, we will use only one emitter because we don't need more details. It's just the smoke. The smokes are the basic effects in Niagara. Okay, also you can add here the plus icon, mesh, and to add different 3D assets. So, for example, let's click here and to add this cylinders. And I will decrease the size of the cylinders here. So if you want to decrease the size, you have to work with mesh attributes only. If you see sprite, when you have mesh renderer here, it's not working, only mesh. And here are our cubes inside. And now we combined both of the emitters together. So this is everything you have to know about Niagara for our smoke effect. I will explain you again step by step when we are creating the smoke in the next lecture, what to do and how the things works. So see you guys.